Texas law to discredit only the black women judges. That's how it's playing out. Put them up full mask. You won't believe this story. As reported by the defender, according to multiple black women who are running in the March primary, a new Texas law is being weaponized in Houston's judicial races where candidates Takasha Francis, Erica Hughes, and Amber Boyd Cora all overcame efforts to be removed from the ballot by their all-white male competition. This goes back to a law. Quote, when you get a candidate that might beat you, you resort to desperate measures, said Lloyd Kelly, who has represented all three women and asserts that incumbents are using the new law in Texas to selectively exclude challengers of African American origin. Quote, I'm really offended by what they're doing. What is it about a black woman that you find offensive when she runs for office? Can't the people decide? You're using a lawsuit as a campaign tool. In 2023, the Texas legislature enacted a House bill called House Bill 2384, which created a list of criteria intended to establish what they call professional qualifications viewable to the public for any person seeking elected office as a district court judge or appellate court justice. Kelly has called HB 2384 the Incumbent Protection Act, and there's a reason. Because incumbent judges are exempt. They don't have to prove they're qualified. They could keep running without proving qualification, even though the law says you must prove these variables and qualifications, except for the old white men who are currently elected. That doesn't sound like the fair and equitable society that Nikki Haley says we live in. There's more. They are exempt from having to answer the new application and qualification standards. Takasha Francis is running to replace 52nd District Court Judge Robert Schaefer, who alleges Francis is not qualified to be a judge. That's what he's saying now. Now remember, she has to go through this new law to validate qualifications, while he, by law, does not have to prove any qualifications whatsoever. That is insane, but it is current Texas law. Kelly says Schaefer dropped an earlier claim to have Francis removed from the March primary ballot because he, quote, has no evidence to support his claim but plans to refile his lawsuit, end quote, and use discovery to try and find a witness after the primary election is over. The defender spoke with Schaefer's attorney, John Rayleigh, who says they filed the suit because as the director of the City of Houston Department of Neighborhoods, Francis does not work as a practicing lawyer, which is a requirement. Francis, who has worked in the legal field for damn near 20 years, completely denies that she is not a working attorney. Added Francis, quote, these same sitting judges have had people challenge them before. They've never gone to these lengths. So I probably wouldn't take it personally if this is just the order of how they operate. It's not a coincidence that their challengers have been white men or either they've been uncontested. So basically they're saying, well, listen, they don't say this against their white male political challengers, but when there is a black female political challenger, all of a sudden they claim, oh, not qualified based on the law. There's more. All right, let's put it up. Judge Erica R. Hughes. Judge, you hear me, right? Judge Erica R. Hughes was elected to the Harris County Criminal Court in 2018. where she joined 17 other accomplished women of color. It was a beautiful picture that they did together, floats around online, very remarkable, all right? The women made history by forming the largest group of African-American female judges ever assembled in the state of Texas. Additionally, Hughes was chosen by Attorney General Merrick Garland to serve as an immigration judge. And she's also worked in Harris County Criminal Court at Law Number 3 and as a Harris County Veterans Court judge. That's a lot of judge stuff happening, right? However, despite all of those qualifications, all of those credentials, the 151st District Court Judge, Mike Engelhardt, has contested the eligibility of Hughes, arguing for her removal from the primary ballot for alleged failure to disclose certain information and using forged signatures to get on the ballot. The defendant notes, the courts ruled Hughes could remain on the ballot, but Hughes says it's ridiculous that her character continues to be attacked. Then last month, incumbent Place 9 Justice Peter Kelly, for the first District Court of Appeals asked the Texas Supreme Court to resolve whether a challenger to his seat, Amber Michelle Boyd Cora, can remain on the Democratic Party primary ballot. Kelly alleges that Ms. Boyd Cora failed to describe appellate briefs and or oral arguments she claimed to have made in the prior 5 years, has no board certified specialization, and gave vague answers as to her alleged courtroom experience responding to Kelly's challenge through the Texas Democratic Party. Boyd Cora supplied answers to 3 questions, admitting she was not board certified, specifying that she had 1 jury verdict case, and describing her last appeal, an appeal from an eviction, according to a petition. Kelly's attorney argued that Boyd Cora's response was an amendment to her application, and amendments are not allowed in the election code. She then demanded the Texas Democratic Party chair remove Boyd Cora from the primary ballot. The party refused. Boyd Cora has been a practicing commercial real estate, construction, and contract lawyer throughout her career. Quote, there is nothing wrong with her qualifications, as said by the Texas Constitution, Kelly said, noting that Boyd Cora is a licensed attorney and a U.S. citizen who lives in the district, which is what's required. Put up these women again. Now, thank you for continuing the legacy of leadership that you started a few years back. We're going to support your continued efforts to destroy this ridiculous narrative and expose the individuals who are supposed to be noble as it relates to law and justice. Obviously, they are not. All right, Ricky, that's a hell of a thing, man. Literally a judge, they got a judge in this with all of her qualifications, including noted attorneys in various fields, and they're saying they don't want the people to decide because obviously they're afraid to lose.
Yeah, well, that's what they do so well. They move the goalposts.
Yeah.
They'll say, hey, you come 100 yards, and then, it seems like as a race of people, when we make it to the 100 yards, you move the goalpost back farther or just try to make it hard. And how is she not qualified? So if she went to law school and then she passed the bar exam, right, what have she been doing the past 20 years if she wasn't practicing law or working in the law field? Nobody goes put all those years to go to law school to get out and do anything. They haven't committed any crimes. And I would like to also help you. I would like to bring this on to my morning show. Maybe we can interview some of these judges and let people know what's going on, because we're on a big station in Houston. So I would love to have them come on the morning show and have this conversation to get people out to vote, sign a petition, doing whatever they have to do. Because Texas, the state of Alabama, the state of Mississippi, they have real problems as far as stuff like this and race relations, and they just still operating like they're in the 1940s and 50s, and it's really sad. So we definitely, I'm going to join you in helping them.
Thank you, dear brother. We're going to make that connection happen today. I appreciate your continued leadership as well.